I have Brent Ivy. He is the president of the Dallas Safari Club of East Texas. Y'all are getting ready for your fundraising event coming up not too long from now. This is where y'all kind of invite everybody out to kind of help with your annual event for raising funds for conservation efforts.
Yes, ma'am. So we are Dallas Safari Club, kind of a misnomer because we're not in Dallas and
Right.
we're not raising money specifically for Africa. DSC is what the acronym is. They started in the 70s, mainly to support conservation in Africa because a lot of populations were going over extinct. Since then, it's expanded worldwide, and they started a chapter program, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. We are the East Texas chapter. And one of the reasons our organization aligns with DSC is because for every dollar that we raise, 95% of it, we get to choose where it goes, what kind of conservation project goes. It doesn't go to Africa or, up north, or we get to do stuff right here in East Texas. So we do a large fundraiser every year. While you go to a lot of banquets where it's steak dinner, buy some raffle tickets, that sort of thing. We kind of do something a little different with a showcase during the day, where we rent out the expo center and we take wild game that has been harvested in East Texas throughout the years. Last year was the first time that we did it, and it was a big hit. And this year we've kind of expanded it to cover all kinds of animals from Texas. And so it's a really, really fun thing for family, kids to come in. We're going to have lots of vendors coming in, people in the industry, things like that. I can go into more detail about that if you want, but it's more of it's a conservation fundraising weekend that we do, and we do lots of different projects, and I can talk about different ones, but that's kind of what it's there for. So try to bring people from East Texas together who support being outdoors, who support wildlife conservation, and that's kind of what it's all about.
For those who may not be aware, how does hunting and fishing actually help with conservation?
So that's a question we get a lot. It's like, so conservation, you kill things, but yet you conserve them?
We kill them to save them.
That is right. Now, so, and that's a great question, and that's part of what we do as part of our outreach is to kind of educate people. I actually got certified to teach hunter education, and so we teach hunter educations all throughout East Texas because there's no regular ones offered. And so we get this question a lot from it's usually kids who are in there, is how does this work? It doesn't seem to work. And so you think back to like when our parents were kids growing up in East Texas, there weren't many deer around.
Right.
It was really hard to hunt deer. Turkeys just came back to East Texas in the last 20 years. Season opened up about 20 years ago. All of those efforts are from conservationists to donate money to reestablish populations or protect endangered species. And so, yes, we do harvest them, but I guess the plan and the goal, it's called the North American Conservation Model. And so what we do is we manage wildlife populations to keep them sustainable for generations for future, for everybody.
Right.
Over in Africa, they outlawed hunting years ago. And if you go to countries that still have hunting outlawed in Africa, because populations grow, they starve, there aren't predators to harvest them, to keep numbers down, and then poaching is a big thing. And so when you completely outlaw something, it really hurts.
Right.
And so with conservation, you have regulations in place, you have population controls, you have biologists that study everything to say, hey, this is kind of the carrying capacity for what we need. That's where we come in.
So making sure that each little tier in the animal kingdom is staying in their lane, not
Yes,
eating
ma'am.
too much, they're not taking up too much resources, that kind of a thing.
Yes, and usually most hunters, selective hunters, with a kid who's trying to get their first deer or something, it's
Right.
a little bit different. But like as you become a more experienced hunter, we're targeting those older animals that are maybe, if they're females, they're on the decline, they're not having babies anymore, or if they're males that are on the decline, the future for them is to get so weak, your teeth wear down, that you either starve to death or coyotes get to you. And so being hunted is a little bit more humane way
Right.
to get, quicker death.
Rather
so
than-
that's kind of how we try to do it. Yeah.
Humane. That was a good way of putting it. How did you get involved in this organization all the way up to, you're taking on the president title? Did you start out as a young person in this organization and then kind of raise through the ranks?
We were associated with a different conservation
Okay.
agency. Our group in East Texas was when I was a kid, and my dad was a member. So I grew up going to the banquets and things like that. When I moved back to East Texas in 2016, I was invited to come onto the board of the club because the organization had aged. The vast majority of members were in their 70s. And so they kind of approached a few younger guys who like conservation, who like to hunt, and said, hey, we would like to bring younger people into this. And so I became a board member, oh gosh, about 10 years ago. And 4 years ago, I was vice president, and I've been president for 2 years. So
Very
that's
cool.
kind of my track through the organization.
Now, with the event itself, the Sportsman Night Out, what can attendees expect when they're going in and ready to have some fun?
So the Sportsman's Night Out, that's our Saturday night banquet. It's after the showcase closes.
Okay.
People either buy individual tickets or you can buy, a lot of businesses will buy table sponsorships. And so we have the showcase floor open for you to still view all of the mounts and things. Our vendors are still there. Like this year, I think King Ranch is coming. Not the hunting side, but the clothing and leather goods side are coming. Texas Parks and Wildlife is coming. We just did a joint project with them. We bought a bunch of collars for alligators down at Steinhagen Lake, which is down near Jasper, to track them because they think they have an overpopulation problem. And so this week they're actually trapping alligators, and they hope to be able to display some of the tracking information on the alligators that day. They're also bringing, it's called laser shot, but it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever, they used to have it in bars all the time when I was in college, but it was like the Cabela's big game hunting arcade game.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're bringing something like that for kids to interact with. So all these vendors will be there, and then we have some people from the hunting industry and stuff. But that night is, we've got raffles, we've got live auction, we have a silent auction, we have lots of games that we play. It's all to raise money. We're doing a steak and shrimp dinner. There's booze. So you buy a ticket, you get a meal, you get beverages, and then you get to just have a good time and raise money for conservation. So.
Now, going back again to the core of this, the conservation, you said you picked out some animals in Texas that you'll be kind of supporting. Can you tell me about those animals? Are we talking armadillos? What are we talking?
So that's actually really good. So mostly game species.
Okay.
So last year we did solely whitetail deer from
Okay.
East Texas, whitetail bucks. This year we're expanding it to include waterfowl, so your ducks, turkeys, things that come from East Texas. And then we're going to have mule deer, which are normally found in like your Panhandle, West Texas area. We're going to have some elk. I don't know if you know that we actually have an elk population established in far West Texas.
No, I did not know that.
I haven't found somebody close enough to bring a Texas elk because it's kind of a pain to get one there. I know some people in Houston, but that's kind of a big deal to get a giant mounted elk here. So I still haven't heard from anybody, but we'll talk about those. But we've got mule deer, and then we actually have some I want to say native exotic populations, but that's those are opposed. So we have some exotic animals that established populations in Texas as early as the 30s and 40s in Texas, and that would be aoudad.
What is that?
An aoudad is a kind of sheep or goat.
Okay.
The real name is it's Barbary sheep. They come from the northern coast of Africa.
Okay.
During like World War I and II, when we were over fighting in Europe and in Africa, a lot of people saw these really cool goat species. Well, some of those guys who were over there fighting for the U.S., they went over there, they brought a bunch back, and so there are populations established in Texas that have been here for nearly 100 years.
Wow.
A lot of them are up in the Paladura Canyon.
Okay.
So that's like North Panhandle, Paladura Canyon, and then we have axis deer, they kind of look like whitetail fawns. They're brown, but they have white spots all over them.
Yes.
And their antlers kind of stick straight up in the air. They're from India. Those have been in Texas for a very, very long time. It's a big market in Texas because the meat actually tastes a lot better than whitetail does. Nilgai, which is another type of, I guess it's a species of antelope, if you will, but it's also from India. The King Ranch down in South Texas. they have, you know, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of acres in that area where they actually raise nilgai or have nilgai pastures. And so if you ever go to a restaurant where you're eating a nilgai steak is on the menu, they commercially hunt them down there. And so, and then scimitar oryx, which was actually extinct in Africa, they brought some over to Texas and started these projects for them. So now Texas has a larger population of scimitar oryx than Africa does. And so we're bringing in, we have, and fallow deer have, there are wild populations of fallow deer right here in East Texas. And so we're going to have some of those, some things that people don't know about. It's like, what is this? I've never seen one of these. Well, they exist and they're here. And so it's just kind of a fun, that's one of our big things is education. We're big on youth. And so we really try to bring the kids in on the weekend. But that's kind of what the showcase is about. We have all these people talking about these things. We've got a list of a lineup of really, really good speakers who are going to do seminars. So very excited about it.
So from the dollars that come to you, how does that turn into that conservation efforts? Is it through what you mentioned just moments ago, the education and how does that money, like, how is it moved around?
Okay, so good question. So like I told you earlier, 95 cents of every dollar, we get a say in what it does. 5% goes to our parent organization, DSC, to pay for their overhead. You know, they have people who help us out, who go out and find outfitters or maybe manufacturers for firearms or deer stands or something so that we can get things to sell, right? So they give us discounts and things like that. And so there's a lot of people out there and also going out and making relationships in the conservation world to partner with people like Texas Parks and Wildlife or, you know, somebody in Wyoming or wherever.
Right.
And so some of that goes to pay for the overhead for DSC. The rest of it, we get to select conservation projects. And so a few of the things we've been doing for the last few years, we've been giving money to reestablish black bears in Texas.
It's my favorite topic right now.
They've started out in like kind of southwest Texas, Big Bend area.
Yes.
My deer lease actually, which is down between Uvalde and Eagle Pass in Texas, I have a deer lease down there. They actually trapped a black bear on it a couple years. They're coming up north from Mexico.
Oh, really?
They've also been reestablished. They're in Arkansas, and they're starting to trickle down. There's been some sightings in East Texas, in this area, with black bears over the last few months, and so. Bringing those back, so you know, it's really cool because like maybe by the time my kids are my age, you might be able to legally hunt a black bear in Texas, which
that's a wild thought, isn't it?
Very. And so we've put money to that. We also started a hunter education program in Texas. In most states, if you want to be able to hunt by yourself, you have to take a course. You have to know gun safety. You have to know ethics. You have to know how to use firearms. And so. Myself and my vice president, we got certified 3 years ago because when you look for a hunting education class online through Texas Parks and Wildlife, the only time they're regularly held are like maybe in Houston or Dallas in some of the larger cities. And so when I was growing up, it became mandatory when I was maybe like 10. And so it was a big rush, like you had a bunch of ag teachers in schools who went and got certified, and they would teach it as a class in school, and it would be a semester-long class.
That's awesome.
Well, a lot of those teachers that we had are retiring, they're aging out, and so it was kind of a new thing back then. So a lot of schools don't offer the program anymore. And so what we did is we said, well, hey, let's start one. So we secure locations, we pay for meals, we pay for the kids to take the class, which it's not very expensive. I think it's like $15 to take the class, but we feed them.
Right.
We bring in the local game wardens for them to meet them and ask them questions, kind of put a name, you know, kind of like the neighborhood. It's like neighborhood watch or something where it's like meet the police and the firemen so you don't get scared of people in uniform. And so it's kind of like meet these guys. They're not bad guys. They're not here to ruin your day when you're hunting.
They're not here just to ruin your fishing trip.
And then so in each class that we have for the kids who passed, we'll do a drawing for a lifetime super combo license, which that's a lifetime hunting and fishing license, which is it's getting up close to about $2,000 now. I think it's like $1,800.
Oh gosh.
And so we give away one of those.
Yeah.
And so we kind of funnel money into that. That's a lot more time than it is money. we do scholarship conservation scholarships with various high schools. We'll send out a prompt and say, hey, for conservation, if you're going into, say, fish and wildlife or something like that, write a scholarship, or give some prompt or write an essay about conservation. And so we award monetary scholarships through that. Let's see, last year, one of the coolest things, and it makes me tear up every time we talk about it almost, but there was an officer in Nacogdoches whose son was injured in a car wreck, and he can't walk anymore. And so several conservation and law enforcement organizations got together to buy this kid this really awesome, it's kind of like a four-wheeler that he can operate with his hands so he can get out and hunt.
Yeah.
And so we all went together and did that, and we bought a cargo trailer so that he could haul it in to and fro, so it doesn't get messed up, get stolen. He got like a lifetime license. He got a new shotgun. He got all these things, and so it was really cool to see a bunch of different groups, even though we compete for the same dollars, come together and do that. So that was really fun. And then we're just now doing the alligator project, where we give money to Stephen F. Austin, which is in Nacogdoches, which is where I'm from and where we're based. They have one of the top forestry and wildlife schools in the nation. And so a lot of their grad students who are doing projects will give them money. Like right now, we're lining up, like some of the money that we're going to raise in a couple of weeks. There's a kid who's literally collecting poop samples out in West Texas from whitetail, axis, and aoudad, those populations I was telling you about, to see how do these exotic species compete with whitetail for food? Are they?
Yeah.
Or what kind of plants to help better manage those populations. And so that's one of the cool ones that we're doing. So we do lots of different things. We give ammunition, shotguns to local 4-H shooting clubs, archery clubs, shooting clubs. We buy them bows and arrows, that sort of thing. So we're just kind of in it and you see a lot of these things are geared towards kids. Because
Right.
we have this huge competition with screens these days. And so, when I grew up, it was like, hey, take a stick and go outside and get in the woods,
And don't come in if you're muddy.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see you at dark
Yes.
for dinner. And so these days you have a lot of, we didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't have screens. And so there's a big competition. So you have a lot of kids grow up who never really get outside. And so that's how we're kind of trying to get kids out, because hunters are a very small portion of the population.
Right.
It's not a right, it's a privilege to be able to hunt. And so if, you have a small percentage of hunters, you have a small percentage of anti-hunters. The vast majority, 90% of people, are in that kind of no man's land. They don't care one way or the other,
Right.
stay in my lane type thing. And so when we make a bad example, we bring those people to the other side. And so that's what we tell our people in Hunter Ed. It's about giving a good example, but also trying to bring those people over our side so that we don't ever get pushed out by the majority and have our privileges taken away from us. So.
Absolutely. I know we were talking earlier about the event, the evening portion of the event, but there was other things in the day that you had going on. Can we go back and highlight those moments too?
In the showcase?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
is it the Whitetail Deer Showcase and something else?
that's what we call it. We call it the Whitetail Deer Showcase. Last year was the first year we did it, and it was just whitetail. We still have a bunch of banners and stuff, and it's easy to say Whitetail Showcase,
Right.
than it is to say whitetail, exotic, da-da-da-da-da. So it's Whitetail Showcase, but this year we're expanding it to a few more species. And so the whole expo center in Nacogdoches, it's a huge room. We'll have mounts all around the outside. So shoulder mounts, full body mounts of things.
Kind of like what we have behind you.
Yeah, that's actually, this actually is one of the boards from, we got together one weekend and made a bunch of these boards to put these mounts on. And so we have a bunch of these boards, and this is how the mounts will be displayed throughout there. So you can walk, and we put tags on each one of them where it's got the person, the year, if they remember. A lot of people, like my dad's age, I don't remember what year. So it's maybe 90s or 80s, and so if they remember what caliber it was, or what month of year it was, and so and kind of give, some of them have a little story about that particular hunt, because some people who are not the antis, but the people who are in that stay in my lane, they come over to your house and they're like, well, why do you have dead animals hanging on the wall? But that, to people like me and people who like to hunt, that's our way to kind of honor the animal,
Right.
just like a photo.
Yes.
you preserve it for, memories, for stories, things like that. And so that's kind of what, we're trying to honor them in that way. And it may seem weird to some outside, but I say, hey, if you're on the fence, come out and see us. We'll talk about it.
Right.
And so we'll have all the mounts on display. We'll actually have all of our items for the live auction, silent auction, raffles. They'll be on display in case, maybe we can snag some people who want to buy a ticket to the banquet that night. Because we do have some stuff that's, you don't have to be present to win. Some of it you do. And then we have vendors there. I talked about Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Right.
The game wardens, they have these. It's like a really nice kind of RV style trailer, a horse trailer, if you will, and it opens up and it's got all these mounted animals that has the stories of how they caught this poacher and stuff. And so our game wardens are coming. They're going to bring their trailer in, and it's a really cool thing. So they're gonna have that there. And then, like I said, we're going to have vendors. King Ranch is going to be there. We've got in my opinion, one of the best large-scale cutlery for if it's steak knives or if it's hunting knives. Flint and Flame, they're a knife manufacturer. They're going to be there. Let's see, who else is? Bailey Bradshaw. He's actually a custom gun maker from this area. It's actually kind of around Longview. Up north of us. He's been a long-time sponsor of us, and he makes these handcrafted guns that, like, I could never afford one, but, like, they're so beautiful. Like, it's just works of art. So he's going to be there. And then we've got several other vendors that are coming in.
Are you still looking for vendors?
We are. We actually do have a few spots. We had Texas Big Game Awards, they're another arm of a conservation organization. They're the ones who keep records, kind of like Boone and Crockett. If you've ever heard of the Boone and Crockett Club, they're kind of like that for Texas. They had a conflict, and so they are not able to come. So we're actually looking for a few more. So if you're into, hunting, we have people with deer stands, deer feeders, or if you just want to show off we have one that's coming. They're going to have like golf carts and stuff that you can use to go hunting. That they're going to be there, and so it's just kind of a fun thing. But if it doesn't necessarily have to be like hunting related, but outdoors, because that's what kind of customer you're going to have is people who like to be outdoors. So,
absolutely.
But it's really, we do that, the showcase, and have our vendors in there kind of as a, hey, we're going to get you exposure because they've donated something to us that we can raffle or auction off. Because if it weren't for sponsors in the community and people giving us things to sell, outfitters in the community who will donate a hunt or donate a portion of a hunt so that we can sell it and make some money off of it. If it weren't for those people, we wouldn't exist, because nobody gives us any. I mean, DSC gives us a few things.
Right.
Like, we have to like beat the streets and get out, make relationships, get donations so that we can sell that stuff to raise money.
So if someone wants to become a vendor, how would they reach out to you?
So probably our best way is Facebook.
Okay.
Instagram, we have a really heavy presence there. It's Dallas Safari Club, East Texas. Or you can if you Google Dallas Safari Club, East Texas, it's going to take you to our website. I can give you, I think my phone number is on most of the things. It's 979-571-6545. We have an email address. It's etscmembership@gmail.com. Our real name is East Texas Sportsman's Club, but we have a DBA as DSC because when we first started out, it was really hard to make relationships because we're like, oh, you're East Texas Sport. What is that, like a golf? What is that, a deer lease?
Right.
And so when we aligned with DSC, they're like, oh, you're part of DSC. And so our our legal charter is East Texas Sports. So you'll see our websites like ETSC and stuff like that. But we do have a DBA since we've associated with DSC. So.
Well, to kind of wrap us up here, tell us again one more time the need to know details: the when, the where, how do we get to take part?
Okay, so Saturday, June 6th, doors will open at 9 a.m. And it will wind up around 4 p.m. It's at the Nacogdoches County Expo Center. That's going to be our Whitetail Showcase. I believe it's $6 for an adult, and if they're 17 and under, they get in free. So kids get in free. And that just kind of gets you a ticket to get in to see this stuff. It's another way for us to be able to raise money. And then that night is our Sportsman's Night Out. Doors open at 6 for that. You can walk up but I can't promise we have to estimate food because we're doing steak and shrimp, and so
Yeah.
you can walk up and try to get a ticket, but I can't promise we'll have any, so it's best to get those ahead of time. We actually have a page, I think it's on Eventbrite, where you can buy individual tickets, but
Oh,
if
perfect.
you call me, email me, or send us a DM on Facebook or Instagram, I can send you all kinds of information if you want to get a table, if you want to get individual tickets. And I'm actually, when I leave here, I'm going over to Cabela's or Bass Pro Cabela's to talk to them to set up a big sign. Hopefully they'll let me put it, because we were there on their opening day as one of the conservation partners, and so I think they'll let me set up a poster over there
Oh, I'm
that has a
sure.
QR code that's going to have all that information on it. So
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming in, and we hope it's a fun and eventful night for you to get all the fundraising that you need. Thank you so much for coming in.
all right, thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then Kylie's going to take over. I'll see you guys tomorrow.